Day 3 of the president's crackdown on D.C. crime. The National Guard, it's here.
Yes, it is. Members are expected to be in the district for a while now. They checked in at the National Armory first and then started deploying along the mall. They will be joined by agents from nearly a dozen other agencies. So here's what we've learned so far. The Guard members aren't working all at once. Only between 100 and 200 of them will work alongside law enforcement at a time. And D.C. officials say they do not have the right to make arrests. But White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt said thanks to the Guard's presence, 23 arrests were made in just 24 hours. Take a listen.
As part of the president's massive law enforcement surge, last night, approximately 850 officers and agents were surged across the city. They made a total of 23 arrests, including multiple other contacts.
All right, so for the very latest on how federal agencies and the Guard are playing a role in cracking down on D.C. crime, the Hill's Drew Petrimo joins us this morning. Good to see you as always. What is the very latest with this?
So you kind of have two things going on here. On one hand, you have this federal task force. It's made up of FBI agents and other federal law enforcement agencies combined with some local law enforcement agencies, and they've been the ones out on the streets. We've seen some video of them. They're the ones that have made these arrests. So they're already in the streets, and they do have the power to FBI agents can arrest people, right? You also have the National Guard members. They're the ones that have started to trickle in over the last few days. We've seen them on the National Mall taking pictures with people. They can arrest people, and it's a little bit unclear what their role is going to be in this effort.
So what happens now? We know they're here for 30 days, Drew. What else can we expect from them?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's kind of the major question here is how forceful is this going to be? You know, Caroline Leavitt was talking from the White House, and, you know, she was pretty forceful. She said that over the next month, the Trump administration will relentlessly pursue and arrest every violent criminal in the district who breaks the law. You know, that would take a pretty aggressive effort on the part of federal law enforcement agencies to go into neighborhoods, pull people out of their homes, stop people and ask for their identification so they can find people with warrants. If that's the type of presence the Trump administration wants to have in the district, that's going to be pretty profound and could spark backlash in the community. You can imagine the type of scenarios that could play out if it wants to be that aggressive. If the administration officials are going to come in and assist in high visibility areas, high crime areas, be on street corners, show a presence. You've heard a lot from D.C. officials, including the mayor, after her meeting with federal officials, that they kind of welcome that's doable, and that as long as they're working in tandem in a way that kind of respects the way that the MPD wants to handle policing in the district, that there could be a federal-local cooperation that actually works.
Let's stick with the MPD part of this. We know yesterday Mayor BOWSER and D.C. Police Chief Pamela Smith met with Attorney General Pam Bondi at the DOJ. We have a full screen that we can show you about how that meeting went, according to the Attorney General. She said, "I just concluded a productive meeting with Mayor BOWSER at the DOJ. We agree there's nothing more important than keeping residents and tourists in Washington, D.C. safe from deadly crime." So the president has sort of put her in charge at the top of this, you know, power structure pyramid as the MPD has been federalized. But that has led to questions about what exactly is the chain of command, and both Chief Smith and Mayor BOWSER were asked that question yesterday. Let's listen.
Can you tell us what the chain of command is now?
What does that mean?
Well, is it Pam Bondi speaking to the mayor, speaking to you, or how does this work?
So the executive order is clear. The president has requested MPD services, and our home rule charter outlines the process. The president designated Attorney General Bondi as his proxy to request services for me. Our organizational chart, how we do business, how we fund the police, how we make changes, none of that has changed.
So she says it's clear there, but it's really not exactly clear what role the federal government is going to play in MPD. Are they going to be sitting in on meetings, directing where officers do their patrols? Are they going to be directing them to take a more aggressive approach to policing? You know, some of the kind of tactics that would lead to this more aggressive stance that the Trump administration says they're going to have. You have to sympathize a little bit with Mayor BOWSER. She's kind of walking a tight line here. You know, on one hand, she's saying that she's willing to cooperate with the feds. On the other hand, she's also talking about this as being an authoritarian push. So she's in a difficult position because, you know, again, the president does have a lot of power over D.C. and especially in this case where he's invoked this emergency clause.
We've got to go, but it's so interesting. Let's say the show of force does something. But then what? D.C. already has the highest per capita number of police officers to population in the country. That's without the federal law enforcement. We have a lot of law enforcement here.
Yeah, and again, what happens after this 1 month? Assuming
Yeah.
Trump follows what the law says, and after a month this has to end, then what happens? And also there's a concern, I think, that if there is an aggressive push, that it could deteriorate relationships that have been established between the police and the community that have been tenuous at times. There's a long history there. So those relationships are key to reducing the crime and cooperation that has been built up painstakingly between MPD and the community could erode if we see, some of the tactics that could offend some people in local communities.
Thank you.
Drew
Thank you
Petroff,
so
thanks
much.
for joining
Drew.
us. We appreciate it.